Welcome to It's True, Tales of the Paranormal, exploring the inexplicable. Most encounters with the odd are quite explainable. An overwhelming number, 80 to 90% in fact, will find very logical explanation. Our focus is on that 10 to 20% that do not. It's time to give a voice to real encounters and share genuine experiences of the paranormal. And now, it's true.
Thank you, Adam, and welcome to episode 10 of It's True, Tales of the Paranormal. It's located in St Francisville, Louisiana. It's about 30 miles northwest of Baton Rouge, and it's got plenty of history and paranormal activity associated with it. It's the Myrtles Plantation, home of the Legend of Chloe and many other strange happenings. I say history, I mean history. 1796. History that dates back to just about a decade after the Revolutionary War. That's right, the Revolutionary War. Now it's a hotel, restaurant, appropriately named Restaurant 1796, and home to a lot of oddities. Quite common for patrons to capture paranormal images in their photos. It's the home to the Legend of Chloe, and much, much more. We're going to discuss it all today with Haley, a tour guide at the Myrtles, and we'll be back to do just that. It's True, Tales of the Paranormal, joined now by Haley, tour guide from the Myrtles. And Haley, before we dive into the rich and deep history attached to Myrtles Plantation, before we get into the much talked about paranormal activity from Myrtles, one question: do you need an understudy? Because you've got a fun job and I'm pretty cheap. At least that's what everyone tells me, if that sweetens the pot. So,
well, I love teaching people about the history of the house, but I'll fight for this job.
Well, I was just going to be your assistant, so there's.
I can always use one of those.
Okay, well, that's what I was thinking. I'm not looking to overturn the apple cart here. So, well, before we get into the paranormal stuff, which is going to be our focus today, can you give us a brief overview of what is a very rich history at the Myrtles Plantation?
Well, the Myrtles Plantation was the original house was completed in 1796. And it was built by a man named David Bradford. He was from Pennsylvania. Now, he was fleeing prosecution after his involvement in what was known as the Whiskey Rebellion. He had a $500 bounty out for his arrest. Wow. And so he came down to Louisiana, which he was familiar with from business dealings, and he built the original 8-room house here and what's known as the general store today.
Okay.
Now, the property was later sold to his son-in-law, and he owned it for a few years before he sold it to a family named the Sterlings, and they lived here from the late 1830s up to about 1889.
Okay.
And
now, at that original point, was that land French property? I'm guessing.
It was Spanish.
Spanish property. Okay. All right. Okay. And from there?
Well, from the Sterlings selling it in 1889, it's gone through a bunch of different owners throughout the 20th century who have done their best to keep the house as original as possible. But yeah, it's pretty much where we're at today.
Yeah. All right. And it's a hotel. Got a great restaurant there, I understand.
Yes,
so
we operate as a bed and breakfast, and we have a restaurant here called 1796, which of course
appropriately enough,
the year the house was completed.
Right.
If you stop by the restaurant, I do recommend the white chocolate bread pudding.
Oh, wow. That sounds good. Absolutely.
It's dangerous.
Yeah. All right. Well, in terms of the paranormal, the legend of Chloe is attached and often mentioned in regards to the Myrtles. Tell us a little bit about that. It's a picture available to see online.
Yeah, so the famous picture that everyone sees in relation to the Chloe story is the apparition standing between what we call the general store and the main house.
Okay.
There's a little walkway there.
Yeah.
Now, back when the current owners bought the property in 1992, her name's Mrs. Moss. She was out taking pictures for the insurance company.
Okay.
That alleyway is so narrow there that they needed it for fire insurance.
Oh, okay.
And
All
she
right.
was completely alone on the property that day, and she took the pictures, went and had them developed, sent them off to insurance, and they were sent back because they'd been denied. And she called to ask why they'd been denied, and the company said, "Well, you have a person in your pictures. We can't use them." She said there was no one on the property when I took those pictures. But when she went back and looked, sure enough, standing between the two buildings, there was an apparition of what we believed to be Chloe.
Wow, that's fascinating. So, but that's really not the only, because there are a lot of reports of images being caught by patrons, right?
No, we have someone bring in an image at least once a week. We have good ones. We have good ones taken every couple of months where you can see the figure or an orb or something like that.
Even orbs, huh?
Yes.
Even orbs reported.
Yes,
okay.
My favorite picture I've seen, well, actually, it was a live picture.
Uh-huh.
There was someone working on the property and a car needed to be moved, and they went to take a picture of the car so that we could get the owner.
Yeah.
And they accidentally took a live shot. And in the background of the shot, you can see a little boy running down the driveway and then disappear behind a tree.
Wow. And do you have all those? I mean, is it possible for you to send those?
A lot of us that work here have different pictures and stuff that we've gotten from guests. We have a slideshow set up on our virtual tour here on the property.
Okay.
We have a virtual self-guided tour of the grounds, and they just added, and it has a slideshow on there of some of the best pictures that we have. And like I said, a lot of the tour guides just have them.
Yeah, I would love to see some of those, and I'm sure our viewers would as well. That would be fascinating. Have you had any firsthand accounts of the odd over there?
Yes, I have had my share of experiences.
Really?
Yes. So I've had my earrings pulled out of my ears and actually go forward and land on the counter in front of me. And I was thinking to myself, gravity doesn't work that way.
No. Wow.
I've seen doors rattling like someone's trying to get through them, and they're French doors. They have windows, and you can see through them. There's no one on the other side.
Wow.
I've seen a ball bounce across the floor by itself. You get things playing with the lights.
Okay.
While we're on tour. And I've actually had experiences where if they were shaking the door playing with the lights during my tour, I'd ask them to stop, and it would. So at least they're polite.
So these are, and I'm sure there are probably many residual hauntings, but these are very intelligent and interactive.
Yes, most of them, in my experience, seem to be very intelligent.
Really? Have you run across those that you would deem to be residual?
Not that I've heard other people. I've had other people report to me things that might be residual. The sounds of people walking down the hallway when there's no one out there. Kids laughing. But none of my personal experiences I would say is residual.
Wow. So they're all, the strong majority, very interactive. Any idea? I mean, there's such history attached to this property. Any idea who these entities were when they walked on the earth?
We do have the names of a few spirits.
Okay.
We have, of course, Chloe.
Yeah.
And then we have the spirit of James and Cornelia. They were two children that lived here in the early 1800s, and they died here on property. We also have Mr. and Mrs. Winters. Mr. Winters was murdered here in 1871.
Oh, my.
Then we have their daughter, Kate Winters. She died here of a fever in 1861.
Okay.
We believe we have multiple soldiers on property. Pictures have been taken that appear to be men in uniform.
Okay.
Let me think. Trying to think of any other named ones. Oh, we actually have some animal spirits here.
Really?
With us. We have one named Mert the cat.
All right.
I don't know if anyone's ever told you this, but apparently people who are allergic to live cats are also allergic to dead ones.
No. I have never heard that. That is fascinating.
Now, when people start sneezing and getting hives on tours, that's how we know Mert's here with us.
I love it. That's great. You don't have a litter box on hand by any chance?
No.
Okay. Wow. Well, that's now the murder of Mr. Whittle, was it?
Winters.
What was the story behind that?
So he was he was a lawyer from St. Louis who married into the Sterling family. He married their daughter Sarah. No, but they were living here in 1871, which was, of course, during the Reconstruction period after the Civil War. And there was a lot of political turmoil at that time. And it's believed he might have made some enemies. We don't know for sure. But because the man who shot him was never caught. It's a cold case.
Oh, really? Still today? Interesting.
Yeah. 160 years later.
What are your thoughts on that? Because, you hear that when life ends tragically, unexpectedly, there are greater chances for these type of hauntings. Has that been your experience mainly, with the Myrtles and so forth, or what are your personal thoughts on that?
I like to think that a lot of them chose to stay. Maybe I'm not an expert. Maybe
no one is. This is a field that
you can't answer. You really can't answer that question.
Yeah.
So I think that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, it's all theory and conjecture from everyone. So it's that. I think that's why it's so fascinating to me, is because there's nothing concrete behind it. It's very abstract. But at any rate, I know there's that thought out there, tragedy.
Yeah, no, I don't know enough to really have a comment or a thought on that.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
Oh no, that's great. You've given us a lot to think about here. Do you on your tours? Do you offer paranormal tours, or
we have two different types of tours. We have our history tours, which we do during the day, which are more furniture, architecture, people that lived here.
Okay.
But then a couple nights a week, we have our evening mystery tours. And that's where we tell more of the ghost stories. We turn the lights down in the house, make it kind of spooky, turn some candles on. Tour guides in costume. It's just kind of a bit more theatrical.
All right. That sounds fun.
Oh, it is.
So what is your favorite mystery story from that?
Favorite mystery story?
Well, yeah, that you would share on a night like that. Give us a taste of what that might be like.
Do you mean like a personal experience, or?
Well, what are just one of the stories that is shared during that?
Oh, okay. So I probably prefer my personal experiences.
Okay, sure.
Like I said, I usually tell people about the doors rattling and then stopping when I ask them. And I just like telling my personal experiences because I know for a fact that I experienced it, and to the best of my knowledge, it's true.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, that's it's a fascinating structure. I love properties that have such rich history, and that's going back to the Revolutionary War. I mean, just a decade after the Revolutionary War, and is just there's so much.
This area actually played a large role in the War of 1812. And then what a lot of people don't know is that where we are in the two Feliciana pairs is East and West Feliciana. Mm-hmm. We were actually our own country for about 76 days. The people, when Louisiana was purchased by the American government, it was only up to a certain point on the Mississippi River. And we were on the other side of the boundary. And so our area was still owned by Spanish West Florida. And people in this area actually rebelled in the early 1800s against the Spanish government and won their freedom. And we were our own country for 76 days before being absorbed by the United States.
Okay. Wow. Well, a lot has happened in that area. A lot has. Any Native American stories attached to?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Well, Haley, thanks for coming on and talking about Myrtles. So much going on there. Bed and breakfast. You've got the restaurant, tours. So the Myrtles. Check it out. So if you're in the area. So thank you so much. And we will return on It's True, Tales of the Paranormal after this. All right. We are back on It's True, Tales of the Paranormal, and wanted to take a look at some of these photos sent over and provided by the Myrtles Plantation. This first one taken in a dining room. You can certainly make out an apparition, edited a little bit there to zoom in on this entity. Let me first disclaim this by saying, yes, it's very true that especially with digital photography today, it's easy to quote unquote Photoshop these type of photos. I mean, I've got a marketing background and done my fair share of graphic design, and I could create something that would probably look pretty authentically ghostly. But this is so I think it's important to know the backstory of each image that you're looking at. So this certainly appears, with that said, this certainly appears to be a full-bodied apparition. Now this is the famous image, the legend of Chloe. And knowing the story, I didn't know the backstory in that first image, but this one, knowing that the insurance company turned this down because of what is a transparent image within the photo. That's fascinating. And this final clip, we'll run it 3 times and let you. Yeah, well. And you can see, and that's how live shots work. They capture about 2-3 seconds, very briefly. Just the before or during the image being taken. So. It's that's an interesting clip because you certainly see an image of a transparent, ghostly-looking figure running toward that tree. That's interesting stuff. So there it is, the Myrtles Plantation, St. Francisville, Louisiana. That is a place that I've got marked to stay and maybe do an episode from next year. So anyway, thanks for watching It's True Tales of the Paranormal. Taking a break for the next month. We'll be back in mid to late January with new episodes. But thanks for watching, and happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you for listening to It's True Tales of the Paranormal. Subscribe today to receive updates on new episodes and tales of the paranormal.